Okay, this is number 248. The title is Shibboleth. Shibboleth. The artist is a Colombian artist named Doris Salcedo. She was the Nasher's special artist, honored artist last year. She made this between 2007, 2008, and it only existed in that time because it was an installation. So it is now gone. There is actually something of it that remains that I'll show you in a bit. But and as you can see from the photos, it is a large piece on the floor, and it is, you know, very simply a crack in the floor. This was at the Tate Modern at the Turbine Hall, which is the same place where Ai Weiwei's sunflower seeds later would be exhibited. So the crack has various widths depending on where you are. Yes, you could actually, I guess, slip and fall in if you were maybe not terribly intelligent, but it's not terribly deep though, so it's not like you'd be going down to some chasm or an abyss or something like that. Okay, let's see here. So let's talk about what the title is, because that's going to give us some information about what it's about. So definition of Shibboleth, just go down to the second definition. That tends to be that's the one that's the most helpful. A use of language regarded as distinctive of a particular group. I don't know why I don't have this part in italics. It should be, the sampled sentence should be, the accent was a shibboleth of social class. So something that marks a particular group. Also, it can be a custom or usage regarded as distinguishing one group from others. Example, for most of the well-to-do in town, dinner was a shibboleth. It's our dividing mankind, right? So in some senses you can say, so you want to keep that in mind, that it's about making a particular group distinct from the rest of the population. So having a crack in the floor, obviously there is a division, right? There's a mark, there's a, you know, something distinguishing one side from the other, right? So that crack, that division, would obviously relate to the work. What Doris Salcedo addresses in particular is the immigrant experience, and she is from Colombia and she works in Colombia, but she also does work in Europe, and so she speaks from the point of view of an immigrant. And what that experience is like. I'm gonna skip this one because I'll come back to it. I mentioned before that that there was something left over, right, from the installation. So you can see here what the people who run the Tate have allowed was, they allowed, rather than completely ripping it out and starting afresh with the floor, what you have here is that you see that the crack was filled in, right? So what's always left is a scar, right? And that is, so you can never forget that it was there, all right? So this is a very, very important museum in Britain, right? And so considering its content, what's the significance of having a work that addresses the immigrant experience in an official building of one of England's most acclaimed museums? I'd like you to think about that. And then how does the scar that's left in the hall further comment upon the subject of the work, right? Because it's always going to be there. Let me actually go, let's hear from Doris Salcedo herself first. As this decides it wants to work.
Shibboleth is a piece that refers to dangers at crossing borders or to being rejected in the moment of crossing borders. So I'm making a piece about people who have been exposed to extreme experience of racial hatred and subjected to inhuman conditions in the first world. This piece is trying to introduce into the turbine hall another perspective. And the idea is that we all look down and maybe try to encounter the experience of these people that I've been referring to, somewhere hidden within this deep division that is being generated in the turbine hall. The presence of the immigrant is always unwelcome. The presence of the immigrant is seen as jeopardizing the culture of Europe. Europe is being seen as a homogeneous society, a democratic society that has learned through centuries of development, has learned to resolve the issues through dialogue. And if that is the case, then where do we place these outbreaks of racial hatred? So I think the society is not so homogeneous and is not so democratic. And there is some people that are experiencing that. So whenever the world, the earth opened in the first world, there is mesh, keeping people out or inside, as you want to see it. Anyway, keeping people away. So it's a piece that is both in the epicenter of catastrophe and at the same time it is outside catastrophe. As you look in, you can see, you can get the feeling of catastrophe in there, but nonetheless outside is quite subtle. And I wanted a piece that intrudes in the space, that it is unwelcome, like an immigrant that just intrudes without permission, just gets in slowly and all of a sudden it's there, and it's a fairly big presence. I believe every work of art is political because every work of art is breaking new ground, and it's in a way against the status quo. So every work of art, the nature of art is political. Abstract art, all of it is political from my point of view. My work is, because of where I come from, because I come from a country that is in the middle of a conflict, very intense war, and I have always seen conflict, and I have always seen the world from the other perspective, from the perspective of the defeated people, not from the perspective of the triumph. It's not, I don't see this piece as an attack. I just think that it is a reminder. I want to bring into the consensus of everything is well, we are all happy. I want to bring a question mark, a disruption, not only in the space, but also in time. What is it before and what is going to happen after? There is a quote by the philosopher Theodor Adorno that I find it amazing. He said that we should all see the world from the perspective of the victim, like Jewish people that were killed with the head down in the Middle Ages. So he wonders, what is the perspective of a person that is agonizing in this position? So I just wanted to get that perspective. Is the world upside down? What it is like to see the world from down there? So once the show is over, there will be, the piece will be sealed. The piece will remain under the floor and it will be sealed. So a permanent scar will always be the turbine hall as a memory, and as commemoration of all this life that we don't recognize, that for us are like ghosts anyway. So in that way, the memory of the piece and the presence of the people that we don't want to look at, the presence of this life that we don't want to acknowledge, it has pretty much the same character, just a vague memory.
Okay, so the other video that I have on here is an Art 21 video. It's about 4 or 5 minutes long. I'll just let you watch that. From minute 48 to about 52, 55, it goes into Shibboleth, It says some other things other than what we just saw there, but I thought that Doris, the artist's words herself, themselves, the artist's words themselves, were probably more helpful with this particular piece. Okay,